fun begins.
How's it going?
Hello.
Well,
Greetings, young Jedi.
hello there.
Hey everyone, Hybrid Toy Reviews here, and welcome to a new series I intend to do weekly or nearly weekly, Black Series of Yesteryear. I regularly mention, basically at any given opportunity, how I've been collecting Black Series since day one, expecting it to make people think that I'm better than them when it comes to figure collecting. That's joking, of course. But I for real have been into the Black Series since 2013, when the line started. And I have been here through and through. I've never dipped out. I know a lot of collectors have that phase where they're like, I think I'm done, and then they come back a couple years later. I was here for all the orange line. I was here for all the blue line, the red line, the tapered edge galaxy packaging, the modern packages of today, all the Comic-Con exclusives. Yeah, I'm basically super cool. I've been collecting Star Wars toys for a long time. Ladies, line up. But for reals, I just want to talk about my thoughts on some of these older waves, things that I remember about them from way back in the day, how I feel they've aged. Basically, just going to be a little bit of a ramble, and you guys are my captive audience. Except you're not captive, because you can click away if you choose to, and that's totally your call, too. But the year was 2013. You know, I grew up on the Clone Wars 375 line, and for the first 3 seasons of the show, the figures were pretty articulated, had some fun accessories, they were really trying. But 2012 onwards, they really started cutting the wrist articulation, the ankle articulation, leg articulation in general. I really wasn't a fan of the line anymore, and then as soon as the 2012 wave came and went, they jumped to these 5 POA figures, and I was just super not feeling it. But then all of a sudden, there was a bright light on the horizon, a reveal I saw online. Star Wars The Black Series, highly articulated, highly detailed, 6-inch representations of some of our favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away. What's not to love? The packaging was superb. It felt very premium at the time. A nice matte black box with a grayed out Star Wars logo, a grayed out image of your character. The orange stripes up the side of the inner box just felt super premium. The back of the box didn't have a character bio, just had a grayscale image of them with a one singular line quote from the movie that the figure was based off of. Chef's kiss. It was just super artsy feeling, and I have a lot of sentimentality for this packaging, even though it only ran for like a year. I mean, honestly, what a shame. But yeah, Black Series of Yesteryear, we are going to start with the Orange Line Wave 1. What an assortment. It really kind of spoke for what they were focusing on in the early days. 3 OT figures, 1 prequel figure. We got X-Wing pilot Luke Skywalker. We got R2-D2, which admittedly comes with the jets for his arms, so it could be prequel or OT. You have the Sand Trooper and Darth Maul, and I gotta say, they were really coming out swinging on these guys. X-Wing Luke was actually the first one I picked up. I remember finding it. You know, this is kind of like my super special interest thing. Like, I can remember where I found certain figures. I found X-Wing pilot Luke Skywalker in the Tavares, Florida Target in September of 2013. I went with my grandmother, and they had 5 Lukes and 5 Greedos. Apparently Wave 2 had dropped a little early, and they didn't have anything else there. And it's like, Luke or Greedo, who are you going to pick? Really? So I picked Luke. I remember that whole weekend at her house, because it was 2013, I was born in 98, so I was 15, and she was harping on me the whole time, leave it in the box so it's worth something. Well, sorry, Grandma, but Star Wars toys made after 1983 aren't worth jack, so it got opened pretty quick. She was never super into me toy collecting, but obviously she didn't win that argument. Here we are 12 years later, so yeah, suck it, Granny. No, for reals, I do love you, Grandma. But X-Wing Luke, superb figure. The articulation apparently is so good that they haven't felt the need to update it to date, because whenever we get an X-Wing pilot, it is just the 5'6" stature of Mark Hamill. I mean, they better not have had 6-foot pilots, otherwise we haven't gotten them represented right. I do believe that this figure is ultimately really due for an update. I think the articulation has aged very well for something of the time, but I just think the modern line could really blow this out of the water. And actually, of the four here, he's the only one that truly hasn't been redone, unless you count the Snowspeeder Luke from like 2020. It's a similar costume, but not quite the same. He comes with his lightsaber, his blaster pistol, and his removable helmet, and it's still a figure that I treasure to date, even though I did upgrade him to the Archive one. The original one is still hanging around my desk, a fond memory of yesteryear. Darth Maul was pretty well done for the time. His leg articulation definitely was a little bit clunky, but it was wave one. I mean, what could you compare it to? And compared to other 6-inch figure scales of the era, it wasn't any worse than anything else at the time, but it definitely aged poorly. But they really packed the box here. He had his double-bladed lightsaber, which split in half. He had a sculpted cloak that was glued to his head with a swappable head that didn't have the cloak glued to it. And he comes with his binoculars. Really, really well done. Ultimately, the figure didn't age super well, but again, for the time, it was pretty good, and it was a really nice likeness to the character for painted faces of the era. The nice thing was, these characters, they all had painted faces at this point in time. Photoreal was about 5 years out. But the nice thing about a character like Maul is, he's not human, he's got all those face tattoos. You can get away with having a weak sculpt as long as you've got all this other deco going on. So he really looked pretty good. And I will say, the painted face on Luke also was it wasn't bad. Compared to what you get now, it's not great. But for a painted face, objectively speaking. On to the Sand Trooper. This figure was good for the time. It had a pretty nice wash, although people don't like to admit it. I have seen a lot of them where the wash was very, very heavy-handed. The idea of a wash being done at random to figures on an assembly line doesn't appeal to me, because you will have some that are just absolutely filthy. It got dunked in the tank and left in the tank when they went on lunch break in the factory, But I do think the majority of them turned out really good. It features everything you could ask for from a Sand Trooper, with multiple weapons, the removable backpack. It was a figure I ended up having multiple of at the time, and we've only just extremely recently, as in time of recording the most recent Black Series wave, have we replaced this trooper. And while I do think the new one is an upgrade, this one shouldn't have your nose turned up at it. This one definitely was a product of its time, but that Stormtrooper sculpt held in strong for 7 years. About 4 years too long, in my opinion, but it was replaced by a sculpt that I think is going to stand the test of time, and upgrades happen over time. It's just how things go. And then finally, we have R2-D2, who was definitely incredibly underscaled at the time. He was about 3/4 of an inch too short, and it took Hasbro about 9 years to correct this. But don't worry, they repainted the crap out of him until then. So, anyways, it just is what it is. But R2, objectively, despite being too small, actually is a pretty good figure. He has some removable pieces on his dome that allow you to stick in varying antenna, and he comes with a litany of them here. He has a Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi lightsaber hilt, which was really cool, getting that Luke lightsaber without getting that figure in the line for a few more waves yet. Didn't have the ability to have a blade on it or anything, but it was just kind of cool. It was like a little precursor for that accessory. You could have him, with it popped out of his head. He's getting ready to rocket it out. He's got some pop-out arms in the front. He has these swappable arm, or leg panels to give him the thrusters. It's just really, really cool. I mean, he definitely did everything you needed him to do, just at not quite the correct scale. I've always kind of had the mentality when it comes to figures that are a little bit smaller, a Yoda, an astromech droid, a Jawa, you really need to fill the box, make it feel worth it, right? And R2-D2 definitely did it here, because in universe, he's very much a Swiss Army knife character. He has a tool for any job built into that round little trash can body, and this figure comes with many a tool to attach to it, to put him in almost any scene that you would want to, and it was just really, really forward-thinking at the time, and it was just a really, really well-done figure, other than being too small. Stepping back and looking at these four figures, yeah, they're definitely dated. It's been a long time since they came out, and the line has made some incredible strides. But again, do not turn your nose up at these. The Black Series started strong. You have to remember how action figures were in 2013. And remember, all Star Wars was doing at the time was 375, 5 POA garbage. Trust me. This was the line for adults. I know people were very weirded out by the 6-inch scale after 40 something years of 375 being the only option, but I promise that this was the way to go. I know TVC made a comeback a couple of years later. I don't think it needed to. Like, these were the coolest thing you could get, and I still stand by that thought process. So, that's all I really got to say about it. I'm just feeling really sentimental looking at these, and I'm really excited to talk about Wave 2. There was some fun going on in that wave. And tell me, were you around at the time? Were you not? Have you picked some of these up in the years since? What do you think about these 4 figures? Ultimately, it is really neat that the majorities have gotten upgrades. I would like to think an X-Wing Pilot Luke update might be coming sooner than later. Would it be a fun video when that figure comes out? I think it'd be fun to compare the original Wave 1 to the newest versions of those characters. Might be an interesting video. So, anyway, were you around at the time? Have you got thoughts on these as a newer collector? Let's talk in the comments down below. I hope every one of you is having a great day. May the Force be with you, and we will talk soon. Bye!